Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot. And today, well, for you it'll be one day, I suppose, one video. For me, multiple. I am trying something new. Surprise, surprise. But I have been thinking about my monthly wrap-up videos, and I feel like they tend to be a little bit chaotic because I just don't remember things that I do in the month, decks I'm using, and sometimes the things I'm doing can be, for lack of a better word, somewhat sporadic. So it's hard to kind of sit down and make a list of the things I've been enjoying, things I've been doing, when that's the case. So I thought it could be just a little more fun and interesting if throughout the month, if I remember, we'll see, I just sort of, as I'm going, show you any sort of practices I'm doing, any, like the decks I'm using, just while I'm going, just sort of pausing, taking out the camera and doing it right then and there, and then I'll be like piecing it together, almost like a video diary for the month, if you will. Video diary, I feel like, what's the, there was some sort of like show I watched in like middle school that it was like a girl who did a video diary. What is that? Or maybe it was a movie? Disney Channel. Can't remember. That's all I got for you. Anyway, so I just did one of my new practices, so I figured I would show you. We're just gonna start here. So lately I have been doing some work with the goddess Bronwyn, who is all about, I would kind of equate her almost to like, actually I don't equate because I don't really know too much about other deities. Never mind. But she's all about kind of love, self-care, self-compassion is really sort of what I have been working with her for. And so I have this new practice that I did talk about in my April wrap-up, but you know, whether that was coherent, I don't know. So we're gonna just do it again. And I figured I could just show you. So I am going to turn the camera around and just show you what that looks like. So this is the current setup. This is my coffee table. And I actually got, I love these pocket deities made by, the Etsy shop's name is Magic Deary. I will hopefully link it below. That'll be the tricky thing, is I'm gonna piece these together. Will I rewatch them? No, because I don't rewatch my videos, so hopefully I remember to do that. But Magic Deary, I've definitely talked about them before. I have quite a few at this point, but this is her Airmid pocket deity that I am using as Bronwyn because they have very similar correspondences. So as you can see, the decks I am using that I just kind of leave out like this all the time, I've got my Song of the Grandmothers. This is actually my prototype copy, really just because, I don't know, I figured if I've got it, this might as well be the one I leave out on the table, since it is, I don't really usually feel precious about my decks, but if I've got this, and it is an indie deck, I might as well just leave the prototype out. You know, I don't know, you didn't need that explanation, but here we are. My Medicine Woman Tarot, and I've got the, I did end up getting the full-size guidebook, and I do really, really like it. Although sometimes I still do use the little white book if I just want like the quick sentence they give there. I do have my Song of the Grandmother's guidebook, and then this is the Karen K, which I did talk about last month, Karen K Oracle of the Fairies, that I've really been loving. So, oh, and then I've got this self-care spray made by Andy, Metaphysics Made Easy. I love her sprays, they're my favorite. And then this is what I've got kind of going as sort of an offering. I tend to do this poll in the morning, so I don't always light the candle, since like right now I kind of have to go to work soon, so I don't like lighting candles unless they're going to be on for a bit. I don't know, I got a thing about that, unless it's a candlestick. But I have this candle that I made myself with this I don't really know what this was meant to be. I got it at Goodwill, and I liked it. It came in a set of 3. And then I've got, this is actually a teacup that I made myself at a pottery studio recently, but it's holding rose petals. So I usually give an offering of rose petals before I light this, every time I do. So that's that. That's that on that. I do also have, this is my favorite, like, scented candle. It's Yankee Candle, you know, the classic, but it's Kitchen Spice. It's very good. Highly recommend. I'm attempting once a week to pull a Weaver's card. It felt like, last time I pulled it, it just felt like it fit into what I had going on here, so I put it there. It's already been there a week and a half, so clearly is what it is. But anyhow, what I've been doing is I start out with my Song of the Grandmothers card. Today I got Grandmother Star, which is magic. I really liked this message. It was all about taking the time to, like, look up, taking a pause, and letting yourself kind of dream big, like you were kind of able to do as a child, or like many of us were able to do. Then I will do 3 cards from the Medicine Woman if I've got time to do so, which I try to make time to do so, because I like getting sort of this expanded message. Yes, and then my wrap-up card comes from the Oracle of the Fairies, which we got Tree Wisdom today, which I love that. It's so cool. It talks about how trees have different wisdom to offer us with the changing seasons. I don't know. It's a cool card. So that's kind of my wrap-up, like, takeaway message, which I've really, really been liking using this deck in this way, because I've never, I don't know, it's a different kind of Oracle deck for me, where at first it seemed like affirmation is not really the right term, but having such like a set message on the bottom of the card kind of tripped me up using it in the usual way I use Oracle, but having it as this wrap-up message is perfect. So that is this new practice, and I don't know what will be next. I feel like this is gonna be fun though, so I hope this ends up being enjoyable. Okay, hello again. Ooh, it's so weird, like, pressing record and not doing my usual intro essay. It's just so automatic. Today I've got the day off, which is very nice. The library is still under construction, so we've been closed to the public for a little bit. But we reopen next week, which is very exciting. But for today, we have the day off. So I have brought my breakfast, into my new garden. And so I thought I would just kind of show what's going on there. I know, who do I think I am? Garden Goddess Tarot? Candy Soul and Soil? Can you tell I'm a fangirl? Because I am. I get so excited for garden season because I'm like, yes! Thea and Candy. Bringing the garden content again. But now, I get to enjoy it while also having my own garden content, so very exciting. To start, I'm on a new trellis bench that I built the other day. I probably should turn the camera around to really show you what's going on. I'll show you what I've planted now. It's looking a little sparse. But to preface, we had someone come. When we moved in, we've been here like a year and a half now. There was a lot of overgrown brambles and things of that nature in the yard. You'll even see kind of what it looked like, because we didn't get it all cleared, but we got a lot of it cleared actually a week ago today. So that way we could kind of do a little bit more with the yard, but also the things that were growing were very invasive. We had a lot of Japanese barberry, which is super invasive here, and also tends to harbor ticks, which I don't know. I just learned that this is like really centralized in New England, like the whole Lyme disease thing. Didn't know that. So, but that's a worry here with ticks, is Lyme disease. So we definitely wanted to get rid of those. But the happy thing that happened from that is it created a whole plot in order to plant a garden. So it's looking a little wackadoo still right now because it just was like bulldozed land. So we haven't put any sort of like ground cover yet. We think we're gonna do clover. We just We just have to plant the seed. Haven't done it. So, yeah, it's looking a little bit like plants in this big patch of dirt, but it's very exciting to me. She is beautiful to me. So, okay, let's turn the camera around and I will show you all of the many things that I've planted so far. Alright, so we can start here with the trellis bench. I mean, is she not gorgeous and amazing? I don't have anything planted yet to grow up the sides. I'm thinking I might either get a vining rose or for this year just do some morning glories and figure out something more perennial next year. But I've been really enjoying, I got my breakfast out here, but then also bringing my decks out. I've been really loving bringing the Celtic Spirit outside to pull cards, and today I had the Gardens and Goblins, so maybe we'll look more at that later if I pull some cards. But I also just got this book in, which was the latest Rachel Pollack before she passed a few weeks ago, so I'm really excited to start reading that. So I brought that out here again since I've got some time today, but let's get into the plants. So over here I have some yarrow started. I really tried to focus on getting native plants, but you know, sometimes you can't help yourself. Some flowers are just beautiful, and so if they are not native, they are at least non-invasive, because we saw firsthand in this yard what invasive can do. I guess I should show. So here's still some more of like what's going on with the brambles, but it was all filled in this slot here, which was kind of crazy. So yes, anyway, then we've got some violets, very beautiful. This plant is doing super well. Don't know what's happening over here. She kind of got smushed, but I'm hoping that maybe I just accidentally watered it weird. Oh my gosh, there's a bunny. There's no way you're gonna be able to see, but there's a bunny in the woods. It's like indented in the middle right here, but it doesn't look like anything's eating it. I don't know. Can't really tell you about that one. Over here we've got some creeping phlox, which I'm very excited about because this should kind of fill in this area really nicely. We've got some coreopsis or tick seed. Why are there so many ants on it? Is that okay? Gonna have to look that up. But so many flowers opening. It looks so beautiful. I love this one. And this one, I think everything here is also perennial, so this should come back and also kind of like spread out. I've also got a purple coneflower here from my friend's garden, so that should kind of spread nicely as well, but that's not doing too much yet. And then over here, I've got a rose bush going. So it's a little teeny tiny now, but Paul's mom has one of the same bushes, and it filled out so nicely and just has the most beautiful flowers, and it doesn't seem like they're too hard to care for, which is what I was going for considering I'm very new to this. So there's that. And last thing over here is we've got with some things I need to cut out. Ooh, hello spider. This is some Artemisia, but this should not spread because the spreading kind is invasive here, but this is the mounding, so it'll get bigger, but it'll stay kind of isolated, hopefully, if it behaves. Okay, and then this is my circle garden. This I modeled after the wheel card in, oh my gosh, the Herb Crafter's Tarot. So, lining the whole circle, I've got some marigolds, because supposedly they help keep out pests and other critters. It did not successfully keep out a groundhog who, as you can see, mowed down the parsley here, but I've just been spraying it with some water and garlic powder, and he's not been interested. So, you know, that works as well. But yeah, I mean, I also really like marigolds, so fine with that, even if it's not working the way I guess I thought it would. I made these little garden markers just with some oven-baked clay and letter stamps, so very excited about that. So this is going to be all herbs, I should say. So we've got, so far we've got parsley over here. I've got some oregano that I actually started this in my indoor arrow garden. And look how well it's doing transplanting. This one's doing super well. I think that one looks weird. And now I'm questioning, is that oregano over there? I think it is. But it looks very different. So we'll find out, but that's definitely oregano. And it's growing super well, so I'm very happy about that. Nothing in this one yet. Then we've got some sage, which is also growing super well. Rosemary over here. And finally, we've got lavender. So the rest, I'm definitely going to do some thyme, some basil. I don't know what the last one will be. Maybe some chamomile. I've got some seeds started for chamomile. But I have to decide on that. But that is all for this area. Looking pretty good. But I've got some random things planted elsewhere, so let's go look at those. Alright, so over in this corner of the house, which actually, through this window, is my tarot room. So this is right outside the tarot room. I've got some things transplanted from a friend's garden, so that's what we're looking at here. I've got this is a black raspberry bush that I think I might be overwatering. I'm not sure. Usually I really try and water anything that I've transplanted in so it can get established, but I think I need to leave this one alone. I don't know. Black raspberry bush though. This might be my favorite. These are some wood poppies, and I don't think we have any blooms on it right now to show, but it is a very beautiful plant, and I'll have to show it again when it's got some blooms, but super pretty big yellow flowers. So that's that. Over here, this is wild ginger, and it gets these really pretty, like, brownish red flowers on it. Really, really cool. And I guess the roots of these really are a good replacement for ginger, or can be used in similar ways, so that is super cool. I really like the leaves on this one. And this should kind of spread nicely as well. And then finally, at least over here, this is some bee balm, which is growing. It's growing nicely. I kind of seemed like I had a little bit of a shock when I first transplanted it, but these plants seem to be doing okay now, so that's good. We've got one over there as well, which I'm really excited for these to grow nice and big. I did not realize bee balm and bergamot were the same thing, so yes, very excited because I do love bergamot. Alright, let's go around the corner to the front of the house. Okay, so this is the last thing I transplanted from my friend's garden. These are some irises, which I'm very excited about. I think they're doing okay. I don't know. I think they also might have gotten overwatered while I was waiting to plant them in the ground here, but I think they'll be alright. I'm hoping so, because I really do love irises. So that's the last thing I transplanted. Over here are some things I started from seed in my arrow garden, and they're doing so well. I'm so excited. This is definitely poppies. I think that's poppies as well. The rest of these, I don't know. Don't remember exactly what each is. I think if I had the seed packets out, I could figure it out. The only one that's a mystery is this one. I really don't remember what that is. And it feels like I should be able to just Google the picture, but it's not working. Because like they feel like very specific kind of leaves. I don't know. Whatever. That one is kind of slow growing. Don't know what's going on there. But then in here we've got a strawberry plant I'm very excited about. Yeah, we have a flower on there. So cool. And then this little pot, I think you can see some of the green shoots. That is some chamomile that is already sprouting. Very exciting. Then another new plant. Got a hydrangea bush, which should be pink, I think, when it blooms. I don't know. Either way, my hollies from last year. This one is doing super, super well. This is the male bush that ended up okay from last season. So it's filling out pretty nicely. You can see it's got a lot of new growth on it this year. Love that. Now this one. Oh, hello, Stevie. Hi. Hello. This is the bush that totally, all of the branches died because it got like choked out by all these tomatoes that resprouted from the last owner here. So it's bouncing back though, which I'm very excited about. And then over there is a rhododendron. So I think that's all I have to show for right now. Hello. So I am about to do my wrap up weeding. Wrap up reading for this week of Dawn Michelle's monthly medicine practice. I am part of her Weavers membership, and as part of that we do a monthly medicine. I'm sure, as you hear on her channel, every month. So I've got my things pulled out, so I thought I would show you the decks I am using for the monthly medicine. Since this is definitely a big thing I do every month, I take part in this practice as well as Tegan at Cosmic Creeper. I'm part of her Patreon for the animal gnosis, which I love. We will talk about that in a different segment when I do my reading for this month's animal. Anyway, so this month's theme is Once Upon a Time, or our focus, and so each week is broken up into different focuses as well. So we started with Once Upon a Time, and pretty much throughout this whole month, my main deck I'm using as an oracle is this Once Upon a Time storytelling game. Now I saw this at a really cute shop with my friend Matt in his hometown, and they sell all different kinds of like vintage things. They have tarot decks and like witchy fun things, but this is out on it's a tea shop as well, I should say, so there's seating areas, and this is out on one of the little tables you can sit at, and we both were like, what is that? What is this game? And immediately started doing readings for each other with it, and it was so much fun. So it's broken up into two different types of cards. So we've got these, which are kind of like people, aspects, items, things like that, which I kind of use more in like a tarot kind of way. I don't use these too much. What I really liked were these cards, these story cards. These work super well as an oracle message. And so far it's been a lot of fun to use this as my oracle for this Once Upon a Time themed monthly medicine. So that's the main oracle I'm using so far. And for the Once Upon a Time week, I also used the Chrysalis Tarot, which I was able to get used from the lovely Chrissy at Green Eyed Tarot, Christy. Who is so very nice. I love her channel. But yeah, she was looking to rehome this deck, and I have been wanting to try it out for so long, and I'm so glad I was able to get her copy because I have been so obsessed with this deck. It's so beautiful, first of all. I love the guidebook, and this kind of theme, it just really is working out so well. So I use this for the Once Upon a Time week, but I know it's probably going to come back out. I really am not. Usually I pick out certain decks for each week. This month I sort of just took out my fairy tale feeling decks. Only one I didn't take out was the Forest of Enchantment because I just did that kind of deep dive with it, so we're cooling off right now. You know, you ever have to do that? I had like a vague idea of what I was gonna do where, but I'm not really sticking to anything specific. That's just what I happened to use last week. This week we're on Curiouser and Curiouser. So diving into curiosity, and I actually used the Mushroom Oracle for my first reading this week and loved it. It was so cool because I just feel like this deck is really curious. And I hadn't really used it yet since I got it. maybe, I don't know, hasn't been that long. I should turn my iPad light off. Oh, that's better. Apologies. But yeah, I love the collage art in this. I just love the whole feel. And I'm excited that it's getting some play. It felt right. I think I'm going to use it again for today's reading, but I'm not positive. I haven't looked at the prompts yet, but I'm really loving that. And I used it alongside the John Bower Tarot, which just oddly, this is one of my favorite bags I think I've made. I just really love the color pairing on the backs. I know not everyone is a fan of that, but it just prompted making this bag, and it's just a perfect match. And something about that brings me joy. When it's like when I can get a perfect match, oh, it just brings me so much joy. So I used the John Bower alongside that, and it was really perfect for that idea of curiosity, because I feel like both that oracle and this tarot they just go in their own directions. They're doing what they want, and I feel like that is just perfect curiosity energy, because it's, with this deck, I really get into what's going on in the picture instead of so much paying attention to the tarot association. I just really love it. I love this deck. So that is the John Bower Tarot, which I don't know. Again, I haven't looked at the prompts for today. But the only other deck I have out right now for the monthly medicine, because there is a week, it might be next week, about the big bad wolf. Yeah, who's afraid of the big bad wolf? So I took out the Darkwood Tarot, which I love, and I'm so happy, because usually this is like very much a fall winter deck for me, but ooh, I've been missing it. I really love this tarot, and I'm just excited to have it out again. I probably will use this because next week we've got the big bad wolf, and then we also have the theme of the princess rescues herself. This might be the deck I use for that as well, just because, I don't know, I feel like it fits both those themes very perfectly. Apologies for the glare I'm getting from my camera, but you know, this is casual. We're going along with this idea. Welcome to my video diaries. So yeah, love this deck. I think it'll be really cool to try this one with the Once Upon a Time storytelling game, but we shall see. I think that is all for right now. I'm gonna do my reading. I'm a day late, so you don't have to do it on the day, but I try to. I don't know. I love a schedule. And Dawn Michelle provides us with a schedule. I like to stick to it, but I didn't. That's okay, because it's Saturday. You should do it on Friday. Besides the point. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next. I feel like I got a few things to talk about today, but we'll see where the day goes. Because we switch over our deck in today. That's something I'm doing. And then I want to do my animal gnosis reading, but we shall see. We'll both be surprised. Hello. So I think I will be doing another segment more towards the wrap-up of the month, talking about my general deck favorites of the month. But a favorite thing I did this month was, usually I pull out my seasonal decks. Decks by season is kind of how I work with them. But I decided, because I had a bunch of extra baskets and like organizer things, I pulled out 3 for the 3 like main kind of decks I use in the springtime, because I noticed there really was a pattern of the category of decks I want to use right now, and that is fairies, animals, and plants. Plants has been the big one this year since, as I have shown, I've started my own garden for the first time, so I've really been loving using my plant decks. So today I've got my plant deck basket here, and I thought I would just, I don't know, show my faves right now. I got 2 new ones recently and really, really have been loving them. So the first one is the Flora Healing deck, which I've kind of had on my list for a while, but just wasn't sure about it. But I'm so glad I got it. It's on this really cool, almost like watercolor paper, but the illustrations are gorgeous. I mean, look how pretty that moonflower is. So you get the picture on the front and the message on the back. And I love the keywords that come with it. I love the explanation. Really cool. And I love the variety of plants going on in this deck. Whenever I've been using, or I have a few new to me plant decks, I've been loving going through and sort of picking out the decks, or the plants that either I have planted or already were naturally growing in my garden. And with this one, I think I had like half of the cards, which is so cool. But yeah, I've had this, I was gonna say I've been enjoying this. I've literally had it for a day, but I just am already obsessed with it. Really cool. It feels a little bit like, style-wise, similar to the Hedge Witch Botanical, which I've been loving as well, but this one has more cards, which I really like. But with the Hedge Witch Botanical, I feel like there's more, what does it want to say? Actually, I feel like there is like a lot of similar plants, but I feel like most of these, if not all, are really kind of plants I have or can find easily in my area, which makes this one cool for that reason. And I really do like the guidebook on this one. So I never really thought about this because I was like, oh, are these two similar? But no. No. They are similar, but this one has a much more extensive guidebook, which I really enjoy. Anyway, the other new one that I just got yesterday as well is the Tarot of Plants, which Andy and I found on Etsy. And we both got a copy. It's very exciting. Here's what it looks like. It's all these like watercolor illustrations. Oh no, iPad, don't do that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's a tarot, but I feel like you could also use it as an oracle similar to the two I just showed because you get the plant on the bottom here. The suits are broken up into seasons, so I'm really excited that it feels like a plant deck that can relate to every season in some way. Yeah, I really, really like this one. I'm not usually one for watercolor, but when it's watercolor that fills the whole page, it's a bit of a different story for me. When there's not so much white space, and I realize the other two decks I just showed have lots of white space, which is why I hesitated on them for so long, because usually I don't really love that. But those decks are just really good. So yeah, this one's really awesome. If you would like to see a more full walkthrough on that, I would be happy to do that. But the box is so gorgeous. Look at that. It's this nice like two-piece box. Love that. What else do I want to talk about in here? I mean, the Given. How many times could I possibly talk about this deck? Oracle of the Roses. She's still not gone away. Love her so much. I won't put you through me showing them yet again, but I've been using that so consistently. Herb Crafters, of course. The other one that really has been kind of an obsession right now is the Faceted Garden Oracle, which I made this really cute bag for with this yarn my sister got me for Christmas. It's all these pastel colors, and the charms have these flowers. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Because the interesting thing with this deck is that I've got the Illuminated Earth one as well, and that one fits perfectly in its box. This one did not, which is interesting. And it wasn't like, you know, it's not the end of the world, but I kind of wanted to make a bag so it wasn't like rattling around and stuff, because, I don't know, I just don't like that noise. That's the only reason. But this one I've really been enjoying. But I think, like I mentioned somewhere, I really like using this more like a tarot, where typically I will pull more than one card from it, or it's like a support to another oracle card. So also kind of similarly to the way I use like the Memento Mori oracle, where it feels like a multi-card draw, or it's gonna be a support to something else kind of thing. And that's really how the Claire Mac oracles have been working best for me. But interestingly enough, I feel like Illuminated Earth to me feels like the fall-winter sibling of this, which is like spring-summer. You could use both, obviously, whenever you wanted, but that's just how they work in my brain. But yeah, I've been really loving that. I didn't mean to sit here and go through all of these with you. Or this wrap-up video is going to end up 8 million years long. But, oh, Garden Dragons. It's officially Garden Dragon season. That's what I'll say. I have proclaimed it. I've noticed that even though it's still very much spring, I have started pulling out my summery decks because, I don't know, the weather's been so nice. I say that today it's a bit cooler out, but generally it's been pretty warm out, which I've been loving. So I've really been using these a lot, which they bring me so much joy. I really love this deck. It's so good. It's such a good one. So that has been out to play tons, along with the La Flora Tarot. Yeah, I think that's really the main ones I've been using. I've got a couple others in here, but they've not really come out to play so much yet. I don't know why. One I put in this basket that I'm not sure if it's going to stay in here is the Tarot of the Drowning World, because there are so many florals in it, but it's not necessarily themed on plants per se. I don't know, but there's so many plants in this that I kind of put it in here because I was like, oh, this would be really cool to use alongside a plant oracle. So I really should try that because I haven't yet. And I do like this deck. I just haven't used it much. Yeah, so that was my random thing I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna need a bigger basket because already these don't fit. And there's two others that need to. So we're gonna do our best here. But yes, I don't know what the next thing's gonna be. I still need to do my reading for the Animal Gnosis with Cosmic Creeper for horse. So maybe that'll be next. I'm hoping to do that later today or tomorrow. We shall see. Hello, from me and from CD. So I just did my tarot reading I usually do with Cosmic Creeper's Patreon's Animal Gnosis for the month. And I think I mentioned before, but our animal focus for this month is horse, which is really exciting and really cool. I won't go too much into the specific kind of guided things given to us, since that is, you know, a paid membership type thing. But I wanted to just talk about my experience with horse energy this month. So I guess I could have shown. Maybe I did show. See, that'll be the one interesting thing about doing my monthly videos this way now, is I'm not gonna remember what I did earlier this month. But maybe I did show my little setup for that. I think I did. So I leave horse cards out for the month, or, you know, whatever animal it is. But I wanted to kind of talk about my favorites. Now, these are ones, well, one of these I have left out because I've got two versions of the deck, and that is my Woodland Wardens. And I really love when we have an animal that falls in this deck, because then I've got a plant association right on the card that I can work with as well. So for this deck, Woodland Wardens, they relate horse to Bluebell, and the keyword here is modest fortitude, which I really, really love seeing horse energy that way. The big themes from the content, you know, we were given around horse, it was kind of about trust and co-creation, ideas around that. Since, you know, there is this huge level of trust between us as humans and horse as an animal, because, you know, there's something, an animal that we have kind of raised and utilized throughout a huge span of time, and it's kind of been this trust and sense of co-creation that has been built, I feel, between humans and horses in this really interesting way. And so with this modest fortitude, to me that really makes me think of horse's ability to kind of be this big, quiet animal for the most part that really just provides this interesting service. And that kind of leads into one of my other favorite cards are on horse. This is from Song of the Grandmothers. So we have Grandmother Horse with Volunteer, and the little haiku on here is, honorable heart, your willingness to carry lightens the world's load. So I do think that's a really interesting aspect of horse energy, is that a lot of the time they're used to carry things or pull things. A lot of the times they're seen as the Chariot card, which I have pulled out right here too from the Wild Unknown. Sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place with this, but Wild Unknown is the tarot I used for my tarot pull, pretty much because I knew, like, horses did kind of pop up in this deck, specifically in the Chariot card, very classic association there, to kind of horses being used to, you know, carry and lighten loads, things of that sort. And so I do think that is an interesting thing to explore with that horse energy, the idea of maybe what is it that you carry for others, in what ways do you volunteer or provide service, and is it something that is balanced? At least that's kind of where my work with horse led me this month partially, was this concept of, is it co-creation, or is it just this one-sided creation? Now, this was not specifically in the animal gnosis, but another aspect I really like to think about with horse that to me really relates to the goddess Epona, who is the Celtic goddess of horses, which is another energy I worked with this month because of that, is this idea of freedom. So this is from the... what is this deck called? Old Ways Magic. Old Ways Magic Oracle. We have here depicted the goddess Epona with a horse, and the keyword is freedom. And now this is from my Animal Guide Oracle, and the keyword is, will guide you to freedom and strong bonds. So that's another thing I really wanted to tie in this month, was that concept of freedom, and sort of where all of those roads met between, you know, the ideas of freedom and trust and co-creation was really interesting. And actually, funny enough, the card from the Animal Guide Oracle, made by Andy, of course, I feel like kind of captures that idea with the freedom and strong bonds. My favorite fact about horses that I think Andy considered maybe when making this card, I like to think so, is that horses are one of the few animal species that we know of, at least, that does have the ability to form really strong bonds. Like, they have best friends. So horses are able to have, like, where it's not anything, you know, a bond in terms of, what do you call it? Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. What do you call, like, in terms of their relationship in order to have babies? What? Can't think of that word. You know what I mean, though. It's not, a relationship in that way. They have these genuine, like, deep bonds of just friendship, which I think is so fascinating. And so this
crossroads of freedom and creating strong bonds with that trust and co-creation, I think it's just been a really interesting concept to consider, and I have found myself being put in the position quite a few times this month of considering ideas of fairness and equality, things that I feel like really come with strong bonds and trust, and, you know, considering what strong bonds I have and which ones are genuine, which ones maybe aren't, and kind of how to internally reconcile that. I thought something else interesting that I pulled out. Another card that has a horse in the Wild Unknown deck is the Five of Cups, which is all about kind of grief and loss, at least how I see it, which was an interesting thing considering that horses can form those really strong friendship bonds. Putting a horse on this card all about grief and loss is, I imagine, that when relationships like that don't quite work out, or, you know, I imagine in terms of a horse, say they're in captivity, if they get separated or something, there's gonna be this really big feeling of grief and loss and having to process that. And, you know, on my end, kind of reflecting on, you know, knowing that not every relationship like that is gonna work out or is meant to work out long term, and allowing myself to kind of have the freedom oh, excuse me, allergies. Of course I have the window open anyway, because she likes it. Look how happy she looks. It's worth it. To process, or allow myself the freedom to kind of move on from that, but then giving myself the time, even if it maybe doesn't feel like I need to kind of process the grief that comes along with that. I think it's been this interesting thing that's become apparent of that grief, feelings of grief really are so prevalent, doesn't feel like the right word. It exists everywhere around so many different things, not just around physically losing someone, you know, by means of death. Like, having to process grief is something that can be so ongoing. So, that's kind of been my discoveries around horse for the month, and I really did enjoy using the Wild Unknown. I cannot believe I slept on this deck for so long. It's so gorgeous. I know I don't need to show it because you've all seen it probably 1,000,001 times, but I can't believe I was so convinced I just wouldn't like this one. Because I have been loving it, especially using it for the animal gnosis. I just really think it fits that energy so well, and it could be because these cards get used a lot for the images for animal gnosis. I don't know, maybe that's why, but I do really love it. I'm very excited about it. So that is all I have for now about horse. Very much enjoyed my experience this month. I always get so excited to see, like, oh, what's the next animal gonna be? We shall see. I think that's all I have. So, I don't know what's next. We'll see. Maybe, ooh, I mean, we are getting towards the end of the month right now, so perhaps the next clip will be talking about the decks I've been loving this month. That would be exciting. Who's to say? Hello there. It is time for one of the more exciting parts. My favorite decks for the month. So, I apologize if there's like a weird cut off in the middle or something, because I didn't leave myself too much time before work to do this. I don't usually film before work, but I just, you know when you just are in the mood to sit down and talk about decks? Well, that is how I'm feeling this morning, but again, didn't leave myself that much time, so if I have to continue later, such is life, I guess. Anyway, though, I thought I would start out by talking about some of my favorite books. I know, I've got favorite books. Which, this first one I can't really remember if I talked about it last month, but it's still been a favorite, so that's okay. It is Garden Witchery, Magic from the Ground Up by Ellen Dugan. This is a really cool, just sort of guide for planning all sorts of different types of magical and witchy gardens. It's been really helpful. I've just been using it tons and tons. Talking about different plant associations, like language of flowers, shade gardens, night gardens, sun gardens, and then, you know, different times to plant, like following the astrological wheel or the phase of the moon. It's full of really, really cool information on adding magic to a gardening practice. So if that is something you're into, I highly recommend that. It's the same author as Cottage Witchery, which I really love as well, so highly recommend. The next book I actually was able to get from the library, which was so exciting, and it is Entering Hecate's Garden, The Magic, Medicine, and Mystery of Plant Spirit Witchcraft. This is by Cindy Bronin. And this one's been out for a hot minute now, and I just never really had an interest because it just wasn't an energy I was specifically working with. But I didn't realize I just didn't realize the connection between Hecate and plant spirit work. So that book has been really, really cool for learning more about that. And it's full of associations, and it's kind of like, it's got in the back like a little, almost like plant encyclopedia of related plants, which is really neat. So it sort of works as a reference as well, which tends to be what I really like in books. Alright, last but not least, I have been getting much more into cartomancy, reading with playing cards this month, and my favorite book has been Cartomancy and Folk Witchcraft, Playing Cards in Marseille Tarot and Divination, Magic, and Lore. This is by Roger J. Horn. This is a book that I use for both playing cards and Marseille. It just has been my favorite so far. I just love the way Roger J. Horn writes about the different cards. It's one of those things where it doesn't feel like too much information. It's like feels like when I'm using it, it feels like a kind of your average, what do you call that? The book that comes with the tarot. Oh my gosh, what? Oh, I just noticed new pink flowers outside. I could examine those. What is that? Oh my gosh, what is that called? Eek! Brains are so scary sometimes, I tell ya. Guidebook. Oh my gosh. It feels like your average guidebook. So I really love that. The decks I've been loving, playing card decks, first and foremost, The Cursed and the Crooked. This is one that I backed on Kickstarter very randomly, before I was even kind of getting more into reading with playing cards. Ooh, that light is too bright. Let's simmer you down just a hot minute. I knocked it over. Oh my gosh. I'm using a new setup right now for this, so apologies if it's just getting weird. Anyway, what I really like about this, let's zoom her in, is that it's got these illustrated borders. Look at the backs too. It's kind of like troll fairy themed. So the number cards still are very Pip-like, but I just like that there's something going on in the borders. But then we get these cool characters for the courts. They're so funny. I love this deck. Is so much fun. It's a really cool pairing with the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle, actually. So this is one that I've been using a lot for fairy work because it really has that energy. How cool is that? Actually, this would be fun with the Gardens and Goblins Tarot as well, huh? So, that has been a favorite. And the other one I've been using a ton since I got it, early last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I can't quite remember, is the Usi playing cards. I don't know if there's a name beyond that. But this was a lovely gift from Josephine, who watches my videos, which was so nice. I was so excited about these because
I love Usi's work. I only have the Pagan Otherworlds, but I do just really admire everything they do, and look how gorgeous these cards are. I like that compared to the other one I use a lot, it's much more open, and it really reminds me of the reason I like using Pagan Otherworlds. It's because it's got this real open air feel to it. And so this one's been really, really cool to use as well, because it feels like having a playing card deck that has a bit more going on, and then more of like a standard one, but just so beautiful. Look at this. And look at the backs, are gorgeous. So yeah, this has been, and not to mention, both of these are on a linen cardstock, which is just so magical. Oh my gosh, look at that card. So good. So, really been loving the both of those. And I've pretty much exclusively been using them with that Cartomancy book. Highly recommend. So, let's move on to the other decks. First and foremost, I want to show my Prairie Majesty Oracle. This has been an absolute favorite for me, but at work. So a big thing that happened this month was, so the library was closed down for 2 months because of the construction. They were doing things that were just a lot more involved. We couldn't be there for it. So we were closed for 2 months, and so I did not have much of a schedule at all. But in May, we started going back in full time, and so it really was this hard switch from really like loosely scheduled days right back into the usual schedule, but everything was different. We went back, and the whole upstairs where we've been able to exist is pretty much done in terms of construction, so the whole configuration is completely different. And I'm in a new temporary space, so that has been, I'm sure, as you can imagine, very jarring. I think for anyone, but with my neurodivergent brain, it's been especially challenging, I guess you could say. Because it feels like a lot of change all at once. So something I've been doing to really kind of center myself when I get into work is I've got the mass market copy of this that I keep at work 24/7. That lives there, and this is my original indie version that lives at home. But I've been pulling a card every single day as soon as I sit down to start my day, and it's just, this deck is so perfect for that. Really just getting like a message from one card to start the day, it just really makes me feel so much better. So this has been a huge favorite for that. It's really helped so much with that transition. So that is the Prairie Majesty Oracle. Oh, I've got a lot of decks to talk about here. My goodness. Let's next talk about my favorite that came from the monthly medicine practice with Dawn Michelle's membership this month, which the focus was fairy tales. So one of the decks I pulled out was the Chrysalis Tarot. And I pulled out other decks to use as well, but this one was such a standout deck for me. I just completely fell in love with using this one with the artwork, and I'd had it for a few weeks but just hadn't really gotten into it, and I'm so glad I decided to use it for that practice, because now I can't get enough of this. I'm pulling it out all the time. I kind of tend to do a single card pull because the guidebook gets decently involved, which I really enjoy, and I like just focusing on one piece of artwork. Look at that. It's full of like mysticalness, but natural world, and I don't know, there's just, I love the name changes too with Gaia, the Green Man. Everything about this deck really works for me. Really feels like it connects to the way I view the world in a spiritual way. I just love it so much. I'm so happy I have this one and started using it this month, because it's really been just a total standout deck for me.
This is one that, I mean, I've been using it a bunch, but even just pulling it out to look at the pictures, oh my gosh, it's so good, isn't it? Look at that card. So that is the Chrysalis Tarot, and by far my favorites to come from that monthly medicine practice this month. Okay. Goodness gracious. What next? What next? Let's look at, ooh, okay. Next favorite, the Stolen Child Tarot. Now this is one I got early last spring or summer. I have mine trimmed, and I really fell in love with the artwork, honestly. Wasn't sure about the concept. It's something that's really interesting and was just different for me. But it just didn't click last year for some reason. I wasn't really sure about it. I knew I liked it for the artwork. Oh, look at that Empress. Oh my gosh. But I don't know, something about it wasn't connecting for me. Because a lot of these card meanings do kind of go their own way compared to a standard RWS deck. So I kind of realized this year, I think the issue is because the guidebook comes as a PDF, which I don't usually have an issue with, but something about this one, I think because it's just like, I really had to use it every single time. I think it was keeping me from just using this deck a lot. And so I never really considered just printing it out. I don't know why, just didn't. But I actually, well, Andy got the hard copy guidebook and so sent me her printed out copy. And ever since getting that printed out copy, I've been using this deck tons. And it has just made so much more sense to me, and I have loved every single second with it. There's something really, really cool and different about this one. It feels very Fae to me. I keep it with my fairy decks, actually. But in this, I don't know, it's in this interestingly unique way. So, that is the Stolen Child Tarot. Now I didn't bring out to well, should I just flash it quick? I've got it right here, don't I? Yes. We're just gonna flash it quick because I think I've shown it 3 months in a row now. Oracle of the Roses, still going strong. I've been using it for my VRs to Thea and Candy with their Garden Arcana. Been using this for that. I am obsessed with this deck. I can't get enough. So we don't need to look through it again, but just so you know, she's still there. All right, next up, ooh, this is the new vintage edition of the Feel Your Chakras Oracle by Andy. And this has also been my obsession this month. It is a handmade deck, so Andy prints this out herself, cuts every card out herself, rounds the corners, and then she scented it. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. It smells like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at describing scents, but it kind of smells like the best kind of grandma smell there is. Like roses, a little bit of powder, but like not in an overwhelming way. Oh, it's so good. And there's something about the feel of this cardstock. It just feels so soft and delicate. So this has really been my obsession this month. Now I've got like, I feel like I have, which was kind of Andy's purpose behind creating different editions of this deck, is that there is a Feel Your Chakras for every mood I could possibly be in, which is so exciting. And this has totally been my mood lately. This vintage, flowery look has been pairing so well with my spring decks. I've been loving it so much. It feels really special because you just know how much time and effort Andy put into creating this deck. I will link her website below. I don't know that or I'm pretty positive she does not have copies of this up right now, but I imagine eventually they will come back. You know, I think she just is working on quite a few copies right now, so, you know, such is life. But this has been a really cool edition this month. So that is the Feel Your Chakras Vintage Edition. And next, we're just pulling things in a random order here. I've just got a stack next to me. My next one is the Faceted Garden Oracle, and this also is my favorite bag make of the month. Look at this gorgeous pastel yarn. My older sister, who dyes yarn for me, got me this yarn as a gift for Christmas because she saw it at a yarn festival by this creator who makes these really cool pastel, like neon pastel yarns. So I hadn't used it because I was saving it for the exact right deck. And as soon as I got this one, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna pair so well. Look at this. Look at this match. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. But I am so glad I got this deck. I've had the Illuminated Earth Oracle by Claire Mack for so long. And while I really enjoy it, something about it wasn't clicking for me. And so I was hesitant to get this one because I was like, well, I don't really use that one much. But I'm so glad I did, because something about this deck and using this deck really made Claire Mack's work click for me, make sense to me. How I use it just sort of came together, and it transfers over to that Illuminated Earth Oracle as well. But to me, this feels like the spring summer of the Illuminated Earth's Oracle fall winter for some reason. Anyway, so this is the one I've been using. Now, how I use this deck is very much in a tarot-like way. I don't tend to just pull one card from this. I really like using it alongside my plant oracles or an animal oracle, something like that, and then I will pull 2 or 3 cards to support that oracle card, just like I would tarot, and that's how it's been working so well for me. Because each of these cards doesn't, you know, it doesn't immediately have something super, super deep to get into. Of course you can, not to say you can't, but you know what I mean. It's got this, the guidebook gives you like more of a short sentence kind of thing. So I just find it works really well in that way, and it's been such a favorite. I love the artwork in this deck. It feels like it gets right to that spiritual aspect of plants and nature, and I just love it. So that is the Faceted Garden Oracle. Let's do a time check. No, we can do a few more right now. Because I wanna. Is that the responsible thing to do? Maybe not, but you know, it is what it is. All right, let's look at, oh, we have to look at this. The Squid Cake Marseille Tarot. Is not everyone and their mother just loving this deck? This deck is so good. It's so good. So this came out in March, I want to say. And Andy got it right away and was like, you need to get this deck. And I just decided to be annoying, and I was like, someday I will. I believe you that I need it, but I'm just gonna be weirdly stubborn about it and not. But then I was watching the 3 Fat Readers episode from April, and I don't know who it was, if it was Danny or Lisa. I know they both have and love this deck, so it was one of them. Talked about this deck, and I don't know why. Something about that finally in my brain was like, ooh, okay. We need to try that. I know. So annoying of me. But you know, sometimes that's just sometimes there's decks where it's like I just need to hear multiple people talk about them before I try it. Some things I get right away, and then some things I'm like, I want to hear approximately 10 people say something nice about it. But everyone was talking about the guidebook, and for amazing reason. The really cool thing about this deck is that it goes into the positional purpose behind all of the pips, which is something new for me because I'm very new to Marseille, and I've got the Marseille, like, Secrets Revealed book, and I'm sure it talks about it in there, but there's so much info in there, and it's overwhelming, so I just didn't read it. But this guidebook gives it to you in like 2 or 3 sentences, which is exactly kind of what I can handle when I'm first trying to learn something, so it's just been so perfect for that. Not to mention, it's pink and a little weird and wonderful. I love everything about this. I love the small size. Oh, it's so good. And look at this edging. Like, come on. So good. So, Squid Cake Marseille Tarot. Very good. Okay, let's do one more. We're gonna do one more right now, and then we're gonna have to come back later. Boo hiss, I know. But which one? But which one? Okay, let's do this. This is my Animal Allies Oracle, which this is 1 and 2 combined. Let's just pull out a chunk, because it's huge. And this is one I haven't really been using. I have used it for the Animal Gnosis with Tegan from Cosmic Creeper. I'll use it as like my focus card if, I mean, there's so many animals in this deck, I have yet to not have it in this deck, whatever we're doing. But otherwise I wasn't using it as an oracle because it's got one of those big fold-out papers as the guide, which I don't mind per se, but sometimes it's a bit cumbersome compared to my Animal Guide Oracle by Andy, which is always a favorite, and just, you know, no guidebook required, so usually that's just the one I always pick. But I had the realization that I could just add keywords in the border, so that's what I did this month. And since then, it's just been so much fun to use. I still look at that guide sometimes if I feel like it, but I like feeling like I don't need to. And so I just took a thin Sharpie and looked at the guide or just my own personal associations and picked 2 keywords for each. And I just really like how it came out because I feel like it doesn't interfere with what's going on with the artwork on the card because we're given that border. So yeah, this has been a favorite. I love the art in this card. Oh my goodness, I am blanking on a name, but there's someone in the tarot discard who has been pairing this deck with the Lilifer Tarot. Oh my gosh, is it the coolest deck combination? And I literally have this sitting out just to try it with this deck, and I haven't yet, but I'm keeping it sitting out until I do because it just is so neat and was kind of my motivation behind doing this mod because I was like, oh my gosh, like that pairing is so cool. Like I want to make this deck a little bit more usable for me. So that is what I did. So that is the Animal Allies Oracle. And now, alas, I probably should get out of my pajamas and go to work. So we'll return. Yeah, I should. Okay, we shall return later with the rest of these. We've got a few more to go through here. So, I will see you later. Okay, we're back. After hours. What is that from? Is that SpongeBob? I think it's SpongeBob, where they're like, after hours. Okay, besides the point, I was almost done anyway. Because I think we only have 2 more to look at. Yes, okay. So next up, I've been mentioning it a bunch. I feel like before anyway. Was the Gardens and Goblins Tarot. And this I just got a Moonlit Fae bag for. And is this not the most perfect match ever? I'm so excited about it. But anyway, this deck has been such a favorite this month. I just really been loving it. I love how it when I bring it outside to do readings, I love how it feels like these fantasy creatures might be kind of crawling in and about my own plants, like they're doing in this. But where this deck really stands out for me is actually in the Little White Book. There's not too much given for each card, but the way the creators see the card meanings is just really interesting. I don't think there has yet to be a card I've pulled from this deck and read the guidebook where I haven't been like, oh my gosh, like that is such an interesting take on that. So it's been really, really cool to work with in that way too, because it just feels like it's adding new layers to the way I read, which is something I absolutely love getting from a tarot. And I just think it's so much fun. I think the collage is really, really fun. I love the bright colors. I know this is one that's really going to probably shine for me throughout summer too, because it really has a summery feel with all these colors and just the bountifulness of it. So that is the Garden and Goblins Tarot. Last but not least for my favorite decks, I feel like I'm like missing something, but there are some things that I've been playing a lot with recently that are a bit newer, so, you know, maybe they'll be in the June favorites. But anyway, last but not least is the Wild Unknown Tarot, which, yeah, I know. Do we even have to look at this? No, but we're gonna. So here we are. I was so opposed to getting this deck for so long. Not for any reason of, like, because so many people love it or it's such, like, a, you know, classic favorite. Because I don't mind being basic. I like to embrace the basicness tendencies I have, you know? Because things are popular for a reason. That's always my view. But I just didn't think I liked this art style because a lot of it is this, like, sketchy black and white drawing. And I just didn't feel like I would connect with it. But I actually got for review, maybe I showed these already, 2 board books by Kin Crayons. So these are meant for younger kids. Hello Sacred Creatures and Hello Sacred Life. And I love these so much. And going through these books, looking at the art style, it just like, seeing them in person, I was like, yes, this makes sense to me. I get why so many people love it. Like, I now love it. I think it could have just been something I need, like, I don't know. It could be legitimate that I just maybe really wouldn't have liked it, you know, a few years ago when I kind of first encountered it. And now it's time for me. That's a possibility too. Either way, I've been using it a ton this month and really loving it. As you saw, I used it for my animal gnosis. I really enjoyed using it for that. Just a really cool one, and just, it's, you know, popular for a reason. I get it. I get it. So, that is my last favorite deck I have to show you all. I would love to hear your favorites from the month. What are the things you were loving, whether it was decks or books or just fun things that happened. I always love hearing. I hope you all had a great May. And other than that, I will see you again very soon. And I also would love any feedback on this format of this kind of like video diary type thing going on. Let me know what you think. But I enjoyed it. I think this is fun. I almost feel like I should watch it back myself because I don't remember anything that happened. Alright, I will see you all again very soon.